explain this? Oh God, the father of logic, that is Aristotle, gave this logistic method of reasoning which defined logical reasoning for 2,000 years till after Immanuel Kant, who accepted it. Or one form of the syllogism which Kant used is the hypothetical syllogism, which is if A then B, A therefore B. But that simply lists the condition of a series of conditions for an event to occur or an object to exist or even a certain quality, and it concludes that it occurs or exists if the conditions are met. By criticizing Aristotle, Maimonides, Spinoza, Kant, and Einstein, etc., they were saying that free will is impossible, which means that the conditions for free will that they listed were not met and that they cannot be met. But I showed that all these conditions may be met so that the consequences of free will is possible. But these may be necessary conditions and not sufficient conditions for free will, and so need to show that they are real much as possible. Since this is divine science, not religion, and we want the proofs of reason, if possible, and not faith of the heart. My strategy. What is the essential condition of freedom? Can you prove that it is met in the world? Aristotle said that if we are free, then we are both mover and moved, and for him it was not possible for several reasons. Page 21. New era in psychology, my Copernican revolution. That's it! Exclamation mark. Oh God. They ignored the law of inertia, really, and that is why they had trouble. Aristotle and others before Galilei believed that motion of an object in the world required a force to keep it acting on the object, or else its movement will end. For they did not yet discover the incredible law of inertia that maintains that motion is self-sustaining and requires no external force to keep it going. What is at rest remains at rest, and whereas emotion remains emotion. On the contrary, if a force acts on it, then it may come to rest or change its trajectory. So we can add the law of inertia of Galileo Galilei, accepted by Isaac Newton and others, and advised by Albert Einstein in the realm of physics, and incorporate this law into psychology as well. I also revised that. Indeed, many experts feel that the soul is just the brain or projection of the brain, and the brain is part of the physical universe. And even Einstein seemed to believe that this view, since he tried to create a granulified theory of the universe. And his system included the whole universe, including rational beings, not just non-living things. And he did not believe in paradise universe, nor even a psychological one. In the sense, he denied human free will. Let alone that maybe he should have included algorithms, not just mathematics, since the world is not simply described by laws, but agents, like people or animals or computers, etc., are capable of making decisions. This may also help to explain the confusion in quantum mechanics, when it seemed that the law of causality is broken. But it may also be due to the effect of electromagnetic fields playing a role in the experiments, or both. So we add the law of inertia to psychology and say that the motion in our mind flows naturally like a meteor moving in the cosmos all around us. Our soul is always thinking, so we do not need an external agent or cause or need to postulate the active intellect, which is a separate intellect, or incorporeal angel, which requires a series of other separate intellects, or angels or gods, to make our potential intellect into an intellect in actuality, as described by Al-Farabi and others. So like Isaac Newton removed the need to postulate separate intellects for the physical motion of the cosmos, planets, moons, and stars from the great Aristotelian system, I, Joseph B. Tone, remove the need for the separate intellects or angels, and maybe even the motion of the cosmos, to explain the psychological motion of our intellect. Our will was part of intellect for Aristotle. That is, it moves by the law of inertia. Oh God! Exclamation mark. Add one more law to the law, Newton's laws of motion. The flow of thoughts in the mind of human beings requires no external cause to keep it flowing or changing potential to actuality. This is always in motion and stays in motion naturally by the new psychological law of inertia. So we must add a faculty of will to human beings and to all models of the universe. A faculty that is in act, since we are always thinking. There is always a flow of thoughts in our mind. Our mind is freely in motion, like the world does not need to be moved or created every second. Once it is set in motion, it becomes fairly independent in many ways. But what is will? Question mark. Is it not the ability to think and make choices and simply to accept the true conclusions as true, usually at least, or act based on true conclusions, usually at least, which may take into account your feeling? Since you experience pleasure and pain also and care about that a lot, or they help preserve you by avoiding harm and seeking pleasure, as Aristotle said, is that how Spinoza saw God by calling him free? Question mark. Since it meant that what God thinks, that is, holds as true, is realized in the world necessarily as immediate effect. Maybe our intellect is like God's intellect, except that He has infinite will and our will is finite. And only some of our thoughts are true, and there is much that we don't even know. And so only some of our wishes of our will are realized in the universe. We have limited power, but God has infinite power. Free will. So it just proved that the law of inertia applies to our mind as well. But if the mind is really just the brain or projection of the brain, and psychology is just what we refer to when controlling set of instructions are in memory rather than implemented by the structure of the brain is in biology. And it seems that the law of inertia is proven to the brain and mind as well as it is proved by the scientists for the physical universe. Since thoughts are just the frequent flow of ions, which are charged items or neurotransmitters, which are molecule particles, collections of atoms, in our brain nerve circuits where the laws of physics can be used. And brain damage, which occurs especially during wars of humanity, suggests that our mind or our soul is the brain itself. Since damage to the brain causes damage to the mind or soul, so the brain may be material. But matter is not just earth, water, air, or fire, as was once believed, but far more complex. Though really it is still true, since it is solid, liquid, gas, and light, which is the same thing. And James Clerk Maxwell even argued that electromagnetic waves can exist independently of matter, so our soul or mind may really be a sort of electromagnetic projection or independent entity. And Albert Einstein argued that matter and energy are interchangeable, so even if you accept Darwin's theory, it may be possible for the human being to evolve from a material being to become a being made up of independent fields of energy. Free will. So that SFD fallacy is avoided when the conception of time is the same in our mind and in the world. That is, when the series of causes originated in our other mind